Hey folks, good morning and welcome to another episode of Steelers Morning Rush. I'm Alan Saunders. It is Monday, June 9th, and Aaron Rodgers is a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers, as has come down officially over the last few days. Aaron Rodgers was in Pittsburgh over the weekend. The great Ed Thompson, Steelers now photographer, spent many hours outside the gate waiting for a picture. He eventually got one, and he got a peace sign. And Aaron Rodgers is going to be at minicamp on Tuesday when it opens at UPMC Rooney Sports Complex. We will see how much he will do. My guess is not a ton, but he will be there in the flesh as the Steelers start the mandatory portion of their offseason preparations. And that was, I think, an important step, certainly, to making sure that he comes into this team with no hard feelings from the rest of his veteran teammates. Are the Steelers a better team now that Aaron Rodgers is on board? If you go and you look at the numbers, obviously he played better than Mason Rudolph did last year. That is pretty darn clear. And, you look at the numbers at the end of the year last year, and you can probably talk yourself into Rodgers still dealing with some of the after effects of that Achilles injury early in the season, and possibly with a healthy offseason could be a little bit better, or maybe at least more consistently good than he was last year, this year than he was last year. But how much better does that make the Pittsburgh Steelers as a team? Are they now Super Bowl bound that Aaron Rodgers is in the fold? I kind of doubt it. He's still the third best quarterback in the division, no better than the fifth best quarterback in the AFC. And even that is probably generous and leaving out some guys like Justin Herbert, etc. But even if you just hold it to the top of the top, the idea that Aaron Rodgers is going to take the Steelers past the likes of Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes feels somewhat far-fetched. But it doesn't have to be all four of those guys for it to be a success. Really, what the Steelers have done for a number of years, and what has frustrated the Steelers fans for a number of years, is then take a bad roster to the playoffs. They have been to the playoffs a bunch. They have not won there since 2016, and they have not had a championship caliber roster at any point since about 2018. What they have this year is a roster that is basically the same as it was last year in terms of overall quality. There's differences. You got DK Metcalf instead of George Pickens. You got Aaron Rodgers instead of Russell Wilson. You've got Caleb Johnson instead of Najee Harris. You've got Darius Slay instead of Dante Jackson. You can quibble with the differences, but this is roughly an equivalent roster to last year, right? They did not go out and become a drastically different team. The real push as to whether this will be worth it or not is when we get to the end of the season, if the Steelers are better able to compete against the best of the NFL's best. Aaron Rodgers has done it before. He has that experience. He is a clever, crafty vet that can get the most out of a team in that circumstance. It's a lot easier to envision Aaron Rodgers going into Arrowhead, going into Highmark Stadium in Buffalo, going into Baltimore in January and coming away with a win than it was Mason Rudolph. And really, that's the big difference between these two guys. The ceiling has not changed. They're not going anywhere. They could win 2 games in the playoffs at most, I think. But that was the case before. It remains the case now. But I think it's a lot easier to see that best case scenario coming to the forefront with Rodgers than it was to anyone else. And that is why the Steelers got better by signing him. Now, I know there are going to be people that argue and certainly got a lot of comments on my Friday show that they're better off not being better, that if they can't win the Super Bowl, they should be trying for the best draft pick possible. Of course, that is an extreme loser mentality that doesn't work in the NFL. And, you can't lose games without significant damage to your franchise that will carry on beyond that season. They are not sprites in a video game. They are people. And losing is a cancer, and you usually have to lose more than you want to get rid of it. And the Steelers have no interest in going down that road. Now, that doesn't mean they're going all in on this season either. They're not doing anything that's taking away from anything in the future to try to win as many games as they can this year, but that's where they are. We'll see what Aaron Rodgers has to say when we talk to him tomorrow morning. Excited for that. Until then, afternoon drive today with me and Smitty at 6. Like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications on the YouTube so you don't miss an episode, and we will see you next time.